what's right. Fight for your life.
And welcome to your AAC Daily, presented by the Best College Sports News Network, Taco Bueno Restaurants, and your local 7-Up and RC Cola distributors. Folks, I'm C. Austin Cox, and I'm your host here every Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. It's August 9th, and even though we're running on an abbreviated summer schedule of only 30 minutes per show until the 21st when we get bumped back up to that regular 1-hour slot, we've got a lot crammed into this show. We're going to make sure we're stuffing it with ECU news, with UConn news. We're going to be touching on Cincinnati running backs trying to break records, UCF kicker Donald De La Haye deciding to drop a diss track on the NCAA, and a whole lot more. Stick around, folks. We're going to pay some bills, then we'll be right back here on your AAC Daily.
Introducing the $10 Whole Lotta Box from Taco Bueno. You get 12 party tacos or burritos, 4 sides, and a bunch of chips and salsa for just $10. Perfect for any party. Only at Taco Bueno.
We're just a typical family. We have our battles, tangles, tears, but on the important things, we all agree. Life is full of surprises. Sometimes, you've just got to take it outside. Positive reinforcement totally works. We've got a lot to learn. Silence is golden. And this year, we're going back to Gatlinburg.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You're bringing your daughter to her favorite pop star's concert. Do you A, wear earplugs?
Isn't this fun, Dad?
I have a soft pretzel.
B, remember the moment with matching concert t-shirts.
That's gonna be $180.
Or we can just take a photo.
C, show her how you used to do concerts.
We're going crowd surfing.
I can't. He's too heavy. Oh, my God. Ah.
Or D, just roll with it.
Woo! Justin! Look at us. We're over here.
Justin! OMG! He just looked. I love you, Justin! I love you!
When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers. But that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org/AL. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You know 7-Up goes great with punch, but try mixing it with fresh-cut fruit and sangria. It's the perfect drink for when you go raving in the desert. Like that time you told your wife you were at the regional sales conference.
Wait, what?
Remember, last March with Steve? Or use it to make a white wine spritzer, perfect for hanging out with 2 Chainz.
I love your rap music.
I have a helicopter.
Ooh.
We should be going.
You don't like boats?
I like boats, and I love all these 7-Up mixed drinks. 7-Up, mix it up a little.
Rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
And welcome back to the AAC Daily, your source for American Athletic Conference news each and every Monday through Friday. We're here every weekday, folks. Tell your friends, tune in. We go live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central. And before we went to break, I was talking about, I had mentioned that we were going to talk about the UCF kicker who was basically, he was given an ultimatum by the NCAA. You have to stop making videos on YouTube and profiting from them, essentially monetizing these videos while you are under scholarship and playing for the UCF Knights. And, there was a big uproar, there's a lot of complaints, and that's completely understandable. Nobody wants to see a kid lose his scholarship, lose his playing time, lose potentially his avenue to a higher education over something as trivial as trying to make a couple extra dollars on a YouTube channel. Then, the uprising begins. You hear fans, you hear people who don't even follow college sports getting angry at the NCAA, who prides itself on, I would say amateurism. But the truth is, it's not amateurism, especially not at this point when we have high stipends, excessive amounts of food for the players. And this all dates back to a couple years ago with the autonomy rule that was passed, allowing the Power 5, as well as any other conference or schools that want to approve it, as long as it's even across the board, allow them to provide stipends in addition to the college scholarships and unlimited food. Now, here's the problem. The kickoff specialist from UCF who's told that he can't have that YouTube channel, can't monetize it. He's not told that he can't have it, excuse me. He's told he can't monetize it. And I'm, of course, talking about Donald De La Haye. He's told that he has to stop monetizing the videos, and then he's told the NCAA makes a concession. They say, look, all right, Donald, that's a little harsh on our part. All you got to do is not monetize sports-related videos, because that's in direct conflict with the NCAA rules. And that made sense to me. I was like, oh, wow, good. This is resolved. This kid's going to get his scholarship. He's going to be able to remain at school for doing nothing but kickoffs. He's a kickoff specialist. You don't see him on the field for field goals. You don't see him punting. You don't see him doing really anything of substance outside of kickoffs. And it seems crazy to me that he would continue his battle, his fight with the NCAA, but he did. He said, no, that's not good enough. I want to be able to monetize videos that are athletics related, that are sports related, and you shouldn't be able to stop me, NCAA. So the NCAA says, well, we gave you an option. They made concessions, and any legal analyst will tell you that a company only has to go so far when they're making concessions. It's the same if a worker needed special equipment at their job. It's not discrimination if the company has to spend $20,000 for a single piece of equipment for one employee. That's the situation with this kicker. The NCAA gave him an adequate option, I think, to allow him to keep making his money on the side. He can make videos, music videos, or anything that he wants and profit off that, as long as it's not sports related, while he is an athlete playing at an institution that is governed by the NCAA. And this, I try to support the players. I really do. Because the NCAA makes a lot of money. That's the fact. I'm not sitting here backing the NCAA. But what Donald Winton did was, and excuse me, and I'm sorry to UCF fans who may support this player, but what he's gone and done now is the stupidest thing I think a player could possibly do. He has released a diss track, and for anybody who's anybody who's over the age of 40 or 45, you might not know what a diss track is. I'll probably put about 45 diss tracks, because we had them in the 80s and 90s, especially in the 90s. And, he released a diss track, which is him rapping about how the NCAA can basically go do some things to itself. And it's crazy. I want to play it for you real quick. Let's take a listen to De La Haye's new NCAA diss track that will it'll give you an idea of where he's coming from in this argument. And I want to get feedback from our listeners on this one. Let's take a listen to the former UCF kickoff specialist, Donald De La Haye, and his diss track to the NCAA.
Damn. I'm sorry things had to go down this way, man. I don't rap. I don't do no diss tracks, but I felt like this was necessary, man. Boys took my scholarship, took my full ride, took my schooling, took my education, took my future. Yeah, man. Guess what? Y'all can take all that, man. Can't bring me down, though. I'ma always be up. Always be up. Up for the Bucks, man. Screw the NCAA. Ooh, why they thought this was a game? Yeah, try to take me off the tour, I ain't going, but really just boosting my fame. They play all their athletes like fools. They try to do me the same. Hell nah. I couldn't even pay for food. Nope. Now I can go call me a chain. Ice. I'm happy I made my decision. Ooh. I'm not working for the free. They sleep. God plans everything. Okay. And I know what's destined for me. Yeah. I'm happy with the way I'm living. Ooh. I'ma always do me. Do me. I keep a smile on my face. Happy. Cause that's what haters hate to see. They hate it. They booted me off the team. Go. How could they do that to me? Get out. I brought to school more advertising that bought us in 2013. Oh man. Young, black, and successful. Yeah. Just trying to get a degree. Graduate. Read through all of my comments. They love you, CF, cause of me. Damn, drop the mic. Damn, I just spilled flames on this thing, man. I can't hold this no more, man. It's burning my hands, bro. Take it.
Man, a whole lot of gang stuff going on, man. You know how we rock. You know how we bought this money, man. We about to get all the guap. 4 cars, you know we stars. Yeah, we gotta shine. Gotta grind, you feel me? Yeah. The NCAA so whack. How can they go and do that? How? They just mad you niggas working. Ooh. We about to get stacks. Money. We about to run it up. Yeah. Ain't no looking back. For what? Starting a business. They mad because we win. CEO? Star players get forgiveness. Ooh. Sell drugs, missile and game. How the fuck? They putting dirt on the name. Dirt? Forget the system, it's a shame. Boo. We don't need to do big things. Either way, we Hall of Fame. HOF? These people knowing our names. Troy. Without D, they looking lame. We branching out like a tree. Woo. They got us so sleepy. We working all day and night. So we keeping all the green. Raps. I'm sorry, NCAA. That's the way it gotta be. Okay. Young niggas. We savage. Fuck the bag, want the package. Try to play it like we average. Money up, we living lavish. Yeah.
Well, listening to that, I've just got to say that it's a great example, I think, of an entitled, spoiled, ignorant brat. I'm sorry for a kickoff specialist. This guy's he can't even kick field goals, but he's the reason that UCF is famous. He's responsible for the success of the Knights. Give me a break, man. You were given every opportunity. The NCAA bent over backwards, and we're talking about an organization that does not make concessions. That does not. It blows my mind that somebody would be so bratty. Because I don't have any other word to describe it. No other word that I can use here on the air than a bratty, spoiled brat, a little child acting out, and to burn your bridges with the NCAA like that. I'm stunned, honestly. But I shouldn't be, considering we live in an age now where you have universities that are allowing kids to make up their own grades, not retake classes, not retake tests to improve their grades, not do extra credit, but just, if class is too stressful for the little kiddos, let them, they can choose their own grade, but they got to prove that they were stressed out by it. Come on, man. This guy, this kicker, who can't even kick it to the uprights, was given the opportunity to retain a scholarship, which, by the way, kudos to UCF for that charity work, setting aside a full ride scholarship for a kickoff specialist. We're talking he can't drop the football and kick it for punts. He can't pin people inside the 10 with a punt. No, he goes out there and he can kick the ball on kickoffs, and that's it. And if I sound frustrated, it's because I am. There are kids out there who are working 2 jobs that are busting their butts to get an education. There are kids out there who are working and taking classes, and at the same time, they're a walk-on on a team with the hopes of getting a scholarship. This kid had a scholarship, was given the right to keep monetizing videos on YouTube. Just don't do it with sports, because you can't do it with sports. There are huge licensing deals. There are large contracts with giant networks that are far bigger than the one you're listening to right now, that have multi-billion-dollar operating budgets a year. But we're going to have some kid get mad that he's not allowed to profit off sports-related videos. just don't. If you're so talented, do something else. Apparently, you're able to find a pretty terrible rapper to guest on your diss track there. And I also want to thank production real quick for muting most of the bad words. I know I definitely caught a couple in there, but thanks for at least getting most of them. I really don't even want to give, and I'm intentionally not saying this kid's name anymore. I don't want to give him any more press because apparently he's been made famous by this, according to him. Good luck with that. The fact that also, and this is really frustrating to me, he has a GoFundMe page that is looking for $30,000 in contributions for his education. It's already up to somewhere, I think the last time I looked at it was around 10,000 something, so somewhere in that odd area. And it's mind-blowing that people, that we as a society are enabling this victim behavior. And I'm sorry to bring this up, because this is a sports show, and I don't want to get too far into political rhetoric. That's not my bag, and people don't tune in to listen to that. But these kids are these kids. That's how old I'm getting. They're just spoiled and entitled to think that everybody should bend to their whim. No, you signed a deal, because everybody does this. Anybody who's played college sports knows, and I don't care if you play NCAA, NJCAA, or NAIA, you sign a piece of paper that lets you know. I mean, hopefully you can read, and hopefully you read what you sign, but it tells you, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. He knew what he was getting into, and he got a free education, and along with free food, free housing, free trips around the world. Don't forget, we're talking about UCF was playing in Ireland just a couple seasons ago. A lot of these schools travel around the country, and even when they're not doing it for sports, these kids also get to go just for humanitarian missions. It's supposed to be usually it's in an effort to teach humility to players. Apparently, I'm going to guess this kid never went on one of those trips, because it doesn't seem to have any humility whatsoever. It doesn't seem to acknowledge the benefits and advantages that he's been given that all of the students at UCF have not. But he's going to try to get people to rally around him. And the mind-blowing part to me is that people are supporting his behavior, his spoiled brat behavior. And I'm sorry if there are UCF fans who agree with his stance, who think that's okay, and you don't agree with me, please, by all means, let me know. Unfortunately, we're still here in the first 2 weeks, and we won't have the, I believe, we're not going to have the phone lines open until week 3, but, and I'm sure you guys are going to lay into me once those open up, but if you're on Twitter, hit me up at C_Austin_Cox and tell me what you think about the UCF kicker situation. Or, of course, head over to the Best College Sports News Network, give them a shout-out, and pop onto bcsnn.com, head over to the AAC blog, where I'm proud to say, my new home in the American Athletic Conference, and pop onto the comments section of the AAC Daily. Let me know what you think about this situation, because I want to know, I could be in the minority here. I could be all by myself thinking that this is a spoiled kid who was given multiple opportunities and concessions made by the NCAA to allow him to continue monetizing his YouTube channel, allow him to continue making money on the side, which, by the way, back in the day, you couldn't even do that. You couldn't even have part-time jobs in some schools. But now you're allowed to do all this stuff, and it's not I don't want this to come off as a complaining rant about, it was different in Martyr. It's just that I think this kid was given a lot of opportunities. And for the NCAA they don't make concessions. And the reason I'm using that word is I want to make it very clear that they sat down, they looked at the PR side of this, because that's the angle that this former kicker is going at. He's going for a PR side of the argument to try this case in the court of public opinion. And I can't see the NCAA as the bad guy in this situation, which is surprising. Because for years, I argued that the NCAA was taking advantage of and using players and student athletes. And I say players more often than student athletes because the student athletes title is primarily there to facilitate the idea of amateurism. But we know that a lot of these kids are not there to, and I forget the player's name, but I quote, they're not there to play school. In fact, I'm sure Memphis fans who have been scouting out upcoming opponents this year have been looking at UCLA a lot. The Bruins will be visiting Memphis in week 3 of the season, and if you probably saw, that was one of my must-see games that I listed on social media earlier today. You know, I'm looking at UCLA, and Josh Rosen, who was injured after 6 games last season, phenomenal quarterback. I'm eager to see what he can do this year. Hopefully not too well against the Tigers, of course. But he was injured last year, and one of the things he said in a recent interview is that it's difficult for students to juggle both their academics and playing. And that's the truth. I think anybody who has ever tried to do that, almost at any level, will agree. Pop Warner, maybe you're not having a hard time with your long division and your football studies because you're not really burying yourself in the books. But once you get up to varsity high school, then through college, if you do junior college, it's pretty tough to balance both of those at the same time. And Josh notes that, you can do a sociology degree or something simple. I don't actually like his example of that. I don't want to offend any sociologists or anybody out there, social workers, anybody who's working and giving back just because they have a degree that the quarterback UCLA doesn't agree with. But it's true that it's hard to juggle that stuff. But this kicker, I mean, can you even imagine that you have a full ride scholarship for being a kickoff specialist? What plays are you having to memorize? Onside? Or you have to remember how to, in that one trick play where you have to hop over your foot as your left side realigns. It's offensive to me that this former kicker expects more than anybody else does. If the kids who are out there really playing every other down, I say every other down because we're not playing both ways anymore. It's 2017, not 1980. If you have kids over there playing half of the downs in a game, and they can, do school, and they don't think that they're being used, then this kid needs to, for lack of a better term, shut his mouth. And I'll leave it at that because I seriously do not want to offend any of our UCF listeners. It's offensive to me that this kid thinks he's owed something. Moving on, because we only have a half hour, and I spent way too much time talking about this kicker. And I do apologize to our listeners for that. I get so heated, folks. I get so heated. But looking around the American Athletic Conference, we have a whole lot of different topics because, as you know, I hope you know by now that the AAC Daily article that accompanies this show over there on BCSNN, we cover every single team within the conference. We'll make sure that everybody's covered and nobody gets left out. And for today, we have the UConn wide receiver, Quavon Skanes, could make a major impact for the Huskies. They were expecting a lot of things out of him last season. Unfortunately, unfortunately for the Huskies, it ended up that he had to redshirt, and that was primarily due to him wanting to get bigger, understand the plays, make the transition from high school to college. As for Cincinnati, Mike Boone plans to become the first 1,000-yard rusher for Cincinnati since George Wynn pulled off that feat. And, by the way, that's got to be, if we're talking about George Wynn, we're talking 2011, 2012, let's say 2012. And I'm getting the nod, yes, thank you. So 2012, George Wynn was the last running back to accumulate 1,000 yards, and it's probably somewhere in 12 or 1,300. We'll get our facts people on that. That's crazy to me. Now, granted, UC went through the Tuberville age, and really that really changed things. And even Butch Jones, towards the tail end of his tenure, was leaning towards the pass. I think it's going to be a lot more balanced in Cincinnati now with Luke Fickell taking over. There's a lot of optimism around the Bearcats. So good luck to them, and good luck to Mike Boone on that goal of reaching 1,000 yards. If he can do that, with the passing attack that they have great wide receivers. They currently have a quarterback controversy of sorts. I won't say controversy. It's a battle that's heating up between Ross Trail, who is actually the son of a former Memphis quarterback, and Hayden Moore. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out because Hayden Moore is already on the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm watch list. So it will be interesting to see how that one, plays and who ends up taking those snaps under center. You can tell I'm watching the clock, folks. And I do apologize. And of course we have the story about the UCF kicker. We also have the complete results of that USF feasibility report for an on-campus stadium that we talked about on yesterday's program. I personally really hope that USF gets that, because if the Bulls can get an on-campus stadium, ask anybody at Cincinnati, ask anybody at Houston, ask anybody who has a stadium on campus how it's different than having to travel, and they will tell you that the atmosphere is completely different, that you get more butts in seats. And I think I can say butts on today's show after that NCAA diss track. We also have an article on Temple, which, amid all the change that the Owls have been going through, especially with transitioning to a new coach under Coach Collins after Matt Rule took off for Baylor, who, and I hate to say take off because the guy left in one of the classiest ways, taking out full-page ad in the Philadelphia's newspaper, thanking the fans and the school for everything. But the constant at Temple has been safety Sean Chandler, and the seniors looking to do big things again this season. As for Memphis, football brothers, running back brothers, are talking about how priceless their connection is there in Memphis. I want you to check out that Tigers article, please. And Houston is trying to maintain momentum through a lot of coaching changes as well. And I just want to take one more second, and they're going to rush me on the time here. But Houston has done a great job with coaches. There's no reason for Cougars fans to be concerned at all with Major Applewhite taking over. I mean, the simple fact is the offense was Major White's baby. Now, yes, Todd Orlando is gone, but that defense is still looking pretty tough. So I'm not going to be – anytime – just the fact that anytime you have Ed Oliver lining up for you, you're going to be fine on defense, okay? And with, Kyle Allen, you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country now. And this is not taking anything away from Greg Ward. Ward was a great quarterback, but he was a wide receiver, at his base. And so you have a guaranteed better passer with probably two of your top wide receivers are coming back this season. That's great for the Cougars. So while they are trying to maintain momentum under several coaching changes, you look at the history. Art Briles, Kevin Sumlin, of course, you had Levine, and then, of course, Herman, and now Applewhite, man. And trust me, recruiting's not even going to drop off with Applewhite taking over because he's got great ties in the Lone Star State. Kids and parents remember him playing quarterback for the Longhorns. Sorry to bring up the Longhorns, Cougs fans, but the Cougs are going to look great in 2017. I mean, seriously, you got Ed Oliver there on defense and Kyle Allen on offense. You guys are going to be great. We got everybody else covered as well. Tulsa, they have a quarterback race of their own there in Tulsa to see who's going to replace Dane Evans as the Hurricane quarterback. We take a closer look at Wichita State, which, if you need another reason to be glad that the AAC added the Shockers, it's going to be basketball attendance. Folks, they're playing the music. I got to get out of here. I want to thank you for listening to the AAC Daily on the Best College Sports News Network, presented to you by Taco Bueno and your local 7 RC Cola distributors. Hope to see you here again on Thursday. I'm C. Austin Cox, signing off.
Work hard.
No matter what you do,
Stay cool. RC Cola.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Introducing the $10 whole lotta box from Taco Bueno. You get 12 party tacos or burritos, 4 sides, and a bunch of chips and salsa for just $10. Perfect for any party. Only at Taco Bueno.